But when you want to use the accrual method, now you have to consider cash or sales on account and liabilities on account, okay, and inventory. In order to convert a company from cash to accrual, all we need to do is create those three missing balances, okay? We need to create a balance for cash, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and inventory. The key is to have a system in place so that you can gather the information to do that. I call this my client organizer. This was not my invention, but an invention that has been really fantastic for a lot of different businesses. Now, it doesn't have to be a separate file box. It can be file folders in somebody's office, hanging in a file drawer, okay? But creating and organizing the information for you so that you can quickly gather what you need to make the entries is really the key. I'm going to use this organizer, this box, as a sample. Now remember that we talked about creating daily cash reports. So I have one file folder that has all the daily cash reports. And by the way, there is a representation of this box back a few pages on page number 3.5. So that if you needed to, you could create this box yourself, okay, or this organizer. So the first section just holds. And what I do is I create the daily cash report. I go down to Kinko's, I print off 200 of them, and then I just put them all here so they're handy for the owner. Okay, I don't give them original and say, why don't you make copies, because there's a chance that might take 2 weeks before they make the copies. I'm going to make it easy for them. Then I tell them, I want you to prepare this daily cash report each time you make a deposit, and then each time you make one, I want you to put it in the second file folder that says completed daily cash reports. And attached to it will be the deposit slips and all the different things that they need, or that I need, to tie into this, okay? Really, all I'm interested in is this information right here. But if something doesn't tabulate out right, if they haven't added their numbers up, I'm going to know that when I do the entry, and then I want to look at the back and see what they wrote down wrong, okay? Because certainly they make those mistakes too. So each time they fill one of these out, I just have them drop it in the second folder. Now, at the end of the month, all I need to do is gather all these things in the second folder, and I've got everything I need. Isn't that easy? Okay? That's for the deposits, okay? Now, I also explained to Sonia, here are your sales on account. And every time a customer comes in and buys something on account, of course, she's going to prepare an invoice, isn't she? A handwritten invoice. And then I want her to drop that handwritten invoice in one of these alphabetical files based on the customer's name. And she might have customers that every day or 2 or 3 times a week are coming in and buying things from her, and they're just putting it on account. So some of these folders might get pretty full. Now, at the end of the month, when that customer is ready to pay off their account, then she's going to reach in, pick out all of the sales invoices for that customer, and while that customer is writing the check, she's putting it in the cash register, because that day it becomes a cash sale. Do you follow that? Okay. That might have occurred throughout the month. Now, if all the customers came in on the last day of the month and wrote a check to pay off all of their invoices that are in here, then they would all be paid, right? And whenever they pay them, they're going to put them in this last folder that said paid accounts receivable. So this would be empty. There wouldn't be anything in here. They'd all be paid. Wouldn't that be great? What would her accounts receivable balance be if this was all empty? 0. But that never happens that way. Okay? There's always some customers that don't pay by the end of the month. And so she's always going to have invoices in here. Have these invoices been recorded anywhere yet in the accounting system? No. But under the accrual system, do they need to be? Yes. So we're just going to take a calculator in with us, a 10 key, and all we're going to do is just total all the sales of all the invoices that are still in here. We're not going to pay attention to the customer's name, and we're not going to include sales tax typically. Okay? We're just going to include the sales amounts. And it will take us just a couple minutes, because maybe there's 20 invoices in there that haven't yet been paid. And if there's 20 invoices, it will take us just a couple minutes to total them all out. Now that comes up to $1,088 this month. So there's $1,000 sitting in here we haven't collected yet.